If your first $10,000 feels almost impossible to save, the problem may not be that you are lazy, it may be that your first savings account is being attacked from every direction. You save a few $100s, then the car needs work, you save again. Then an annual bill shows up. You finally start feeling ahead, then one stressful week turns into takeout, a family request, a repair, and a balance that looks like it traveled back in time. And after enough resets, you stop saying, "Something keeps interrupting my plan." You start saying, "Maybe I am just bad with money." But that might be the wrong diagnosis. Your first $10,000 is not just savings, it is your first anti-reset system. Welcome to Grow with Tony, simple money lessons for education only, not financial advice. This is not going to be a video where I tell you to stop buying coffee and magically become wealthy. Because for most people, the first $10,000 is not hard because of one coffee. It is hard because one small pile of money is being asked to do 6 different jobs. It has to cover emergencies. It has to cover bills you forgot were coming. It has to cover normal life. It has to protect you from debt. It has to make you feel secure. And somehow, it is also supposed to become your future. That is too much pressure for one little account. So today, I want to show you why the first $10,000 feels so much harder than the next. $10,000 and how to build it in a way that does not depend on motivation staying perfect. Let's make this real. Imagine someone named Maya. Maya is not reckless. She is not buying designer bags every weekend. She is not trying to live like a celebrity. She has a job. She pays her bills. She wants to be responsible. At the beginning of the month, Maya looks at her account and says, "Okay, this time I am going to save." She moves $400 into savings. For a few days, it feels good. Not life-changing, but good. There's proof that she is finally moving in the right direction. Then her car makes a sound that cars only make when they are about to ask for money. The repair costs $320. The savings account drops back down. Maya tells herself, "Fine, that was a real emergency. I will restart." Next month, she saves again. Then an annual insurance bill appears. Not exactly a surprise, but it feels like a surprise because she did not have a separate place for it. The savings account drops again. The next month, she saves again. Then a friend's wedding, a family birthday, a prescription, a broken phone screen, and one tired weekend all hit close together. No single thing looks dramatic, but together they erase the progress. And that is the part people do not talk about enough. The first $10,000 is hard because it has to survive before it can grow. When you already have a strong cushion, a $300 problem is annoying. When you have $420 saved, a $300 problem feels like proof that saving does not work. Same expense, totally different emotional impact. That is why the first stage is so brutal. At the beginning, every interruption feels personal. Every bill feels like a verdict. Every reset makes you question whether the plan is even worth trying. And if you are not careful, you start confusing a system problem with a character flaw. The system problem is this: Maya's money has no job separation. Her checking account is for rent, food, subscriptions, guilt spending, weekend spending, and whatever is left over. Her savings account is for emergencies, future goals, annual bills, car repairs, medical costs, travel, investing dreams, and emotional comfort. So when something happens, the savings account is the only place to go. It is not really savings. It is a waiting room for the next problem. That is why generic advice can feel so frustrating. Just make a budget. Okay, but a budget can tell Maya where the money went. It does not automatically protect the money from being pulled into 5 different jobs. Just spend less. Okay, but some of the biggest resets are not from luxury spending. They are from irregular expenses that were predictable but not prepared for. Just be disciplined. Discipline helps, but discipline gets tired when every month feels like restarting a game from level 1. So the question is not only, how do I save more? The better question is, what keeps resetting me? That is where the episode changes. Because your first $10,000 should not be treated like one big trophy number. It should be treated like a floor. Before the floor exists, your entire financial life is standing on wet cardboard. You can have ambition. You can have a good income. You can have investment goals. You can watch every ETF video on the internet. But if one normal life interruption sends you back to zero, then every other plan is fragile. That does not mean you are failing. It means the first job is not get rich. The first job is stop breaking. That is the purpose of the first $10,000. It creates distance between one bad week and a full reset. Now, the exact amount may be different for different people. For one person, $3,000 may already change their life. For another person with kids, rent, medical costs, or unstable income, $10,000 may still feel light. So do not hear this as a universal magic number. Hear it as a milestone that represents something important. You are trying to build enough cash stability that life can hit you without knocking the entire plan over. So how do you build it without turning this into another boring savings lecture? You start with the reset audit, not a budget. A reset audit. Look back over the last 90 days and ask one question. What pulled money out of savings? Or stopped money from reaching savings? Write the answers down. Not to shame yourself, to find the pattern. Maybe it was car maintenance. Maybe it was eating out when work got stressful. Maybe it was medical costs. Maybe it was helping family. Maybe it was annual bills. Maybe it was small random purchases that did not feel serious until they traveled together in a group. Then put each reset into one of three categories. First, true emergencies. These are unexpected, necessary, and urgent. The car repair that gets you to work. The medical bill. The broken appliance you actually need. Second, predictable irregular expenses. These are not monthly, so they feel surprising, but they are not really mysteries. Insurance renewals, car registration, holiday gifts, school costs, annual subscriptions. Travel you already know is likely. Third, behavior leaks. These are the purchases that happen when the system is tired. Not because you are a terrible person. Because the money had no boundary and the month kept asking for more. This separation matters because most people treat all three categories as one thing. They say, I had an emergency. But sometimes it was not an emergency. It was a known expense with no parking spot. And when a known expense has no parking spot, it steals from the emergency fund. Then when a real emergency arrives, there is nothing left. That is how the reset loop stays alive. So after the reset audit, the second step is to give the dollars separate jobs. Think of it like building walls inside the money. You may have one account or multiple accounts depending on what works for you. But mentally, the jobs need to be separate. Monthly bills are one job. Irregular bills are another job. True emergency savings are another job. Future goals are another job. Spending money is another job. When those jobs are mixed together, every dollar looks available. And if every dollar looks available, the future always loses to the present. This is where Maya's situation starts to improve. She does not suddenly become a different human. She does not wake up with superhero discipline. She simply stops asking one savings account to do everything. She creates a small irregular bills bucket. Car maintenance goes there. Insurance goes there. Annual renewals go there. Things that are not monthly, but are also not shocking, go there. Then the emergency fund can do its real job. It protects against the stuff she could not reasonably schedule. That one change is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Because now when the insurance bill comes, Maya does not say, "There goes my emergency fund again." She says, "That was the job of the irregular bills bucket." That is what stability feels like at first. Not exciting, just less dramatic. The third step is to build the first $10,000 in layers. This is important because if you stare at $10,000 from zero, it can feel ridiculous. Your brain looks at the gap and says, "Why even try?" So do not make the first emotional goal $10,000. Make the first goal breathing room. Maybe that is $500. Maybe it is $1,000. Maybe it is one paycheck gap. The exact number depends on your life. The point of the first layer is not to solve every emergency. The point is to stop every small problem from becoming a crisis. Layer 1 says, a normal inconvenience does not have to become debt. Layer 2 is 1 month of core bills, not 1 month of perfect lifestyle. Core bills. Housing, food, utilities, transportation, minimum debt payments, insurance, the things that keep life standing. This layer changes the feeling of money. Because now, if a paycheck is delayed, an invoice is late, hours get cut, or a bill lands awkwardly, your nervous system does not have to treat it like a disaster immediately. Layer 3 is the first real floor. For this episode, we are calling that $10,000. Again, not because $10,000 is magic, because it is large enough for many people to feel the difference between I have a little extra and I have a financial floor. The first $10,000 is where small emergencies stop erasing your identity. It is where a repair can be frustrating without becoming a full emotional collapse. It is where you can make a decision without panic sitting in the driver's seat. That is why I do not like treating the first $10,000 as a bragging number. It is not a flex. It is shock absorption. Before your money can grow, it has to stop leaking. Now, the fourth step is automation. And yes, automation sounds boring. But boring is exactly why it works. If saving only happens after the month is finished, the month will usually win. The month is loud. Bills are loud. Stress is loud. Food delivery is loud. Friends are loud. Random little problems are loud. Your future is quiet, so if the future only gets whatever is left after everything loud is finished, the future often gets crumbs. That is why the first transfer should happen when money arrives, not when the month is almost over. It does not have to be huge. It should be realistic enough that you do not immediately pull it back. If $25 is real, start with $25. If $100 is real, start with $100. If your income is irregular, automate what you can and use a rule for windfalls or larger pay periods. The point is to stop making every savings decision a fresh emotional negotiation, because motivation is expensive. Every time you have to decide again, the month gets another chance to talk you out of it. Automation turns the first move into a default. But automation without rules can still fail. So the fifth step is withdrawal rules. This is the part most people skip. They set a savings goal, but they never define when the money is allowed to leave. So the account grows a little. Then something uncomfortable happens. And because there is no rule, every uncomfortable thing feels like a valid reason. The rule does not have to be complicated. For emergency savings, one simple test is it unexpected? Is it necessary? Is it urgent? If yes, the money can do its job. If no, maybe it belongs in another bucket. A concert ticket is not an emergency. A planned annual bill is not an emergency. A weekend where you feel bored is not an emergency. But a car repair that gets you to work may be. A medical expense may be. A necessary home repair may be. The rule protects the account from becoming a second checking account. And this is where the whole idea clicks. A fragile saver asks, how do I save more? A stable saver asks, which dollars are allowed to be touched? Because the goal is not just to pile up money, the goal is to protect the job of the money. Now, let's talk about investing for a moment, because this is where ambitious people can get stuck. You might think, but Tony, shouldn't I invest as early as possible? In general, investing can be powerful for long-term goals. But money needed soon has a different job from money that can stay invested for years. If your emergency fund keeps collapsing, then every market drop can feel like a personal threat, not because the market is doing something unusual, but because you may need that money too soon. That creates a bad emotional setup. You invest money that should have been your floor. Then life happens. Then the market is down at the same time. Now you are not making an investment decision. You are making a survival decision under pressure. That is when people sell at bad times, pause good plans, or start believing investing is the problem. But the real problem was that the dollars had the wrong job. This is not an argument against investing. It is an argument for sequence. Build enough floor that your long-term money can actually stay long-term. The floor protects the portfolio from your life, and it protects your life from the portfolio. Let's go back to Maya. Nothing magical happens to her income. She still has bills. She still has stress. She still has a car that occasionally acts suspicious. But now her money has jobs. When she gets paid, a small automatic transfer goes to the emergency fund. Another piece goes toward irregular bills. Her checking account is for this month's life. Her emergency fund is not touched unless the situation passes the rule. At first, progress still feels slow, but something important changes. The resets become smaller. The annual bill no longer destroys the emergency fund. The emergency no longer destroys every future goal. The weekend spending no longer quietly eats the money for car registration. The system starts absorbing the hits. That is the first real sign that the plan is working. Not that life becomes perfect. Not that Maya never spends emotionally again. Not that every month is clean. But the account stops traveling all the way back to zero. And once the account stops going back to zero, confidence has somewhere to grow. This is why the first $10,000 can feel so slow. You are not just saving dollars, you are rebuilding trust with yourself. Every month that money stays protected, your brain gets a little new evidence. Maybe I can do this. Maybe progress does not always disappear. Maybe I am not bad with money. Maybe I needed a better structure. That confidence matters. Because later, when you start investing more, earning more, or planning bigger goals, you are not doing it from panic. You are doing it from a floor. So here is the simple checklist. First, identify what keeps resetting you. Look at the last 90 days and name the pattern. Second, separate irregular expenses from true emergencies. Do not let predictable bills keep pretending to be surprises. Third, build in layers. Breathing room first, core bills next, then the first real floor. Fourth, automate the first transfer when money arrives. Do not make your future wait in line behind every loud expense. Fifth, write rules for when the savings can be touched, because a savings account without rules becomes a waiting room for the next emergency. The first $10,000 is hard because it is doing a hard job. It is fighting emergencies, irregular bills, old habits, stress, and uncertainty before your money has any real protection around it. So if you are at the beginning, do not turn every reset into proof that you are hopeless. Use it as information. Ask, what reset me? Ask, which dollars were doing too many jobs? Ask, what rule would stop this same thing from wiping me out again? Because the goal is not to feel rich. The goal is to stop feeling financially breakable. And once you stop feeling financially breakable, every next money decision gets easier. If this video helped, write this in the comments. What usually resets your savings? Is it car stuff, medical bills, family help, annual bills, stress spending, or something else? And subscribe to Grow with Tony for simple money lessons that help you build a calmer financial life, one system at a time.